No.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to the extraordinary planning meeting of the Planning Committee on this day, Wednesday, the 16th of September. This evening, councillors, we're going to be discussing the two white papers that the government have requested consultation on. I wanted to, before I really get started, I just wanted to really thank yourselves and officers for actually reading these very comprehensive planning documents. I know from my own reading it has taken quite a lot of time, so I just wanted to convey my thanks for doing that. Okay, let's start at the top. Let's start with apologies for absence. Have we any?
No.
No, okay, so we haven't received. We do know that Councillor Arlett is having technical IT problems, so he'll be with us as soon as he can. Item 2, declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest amongst us? No? Okay, I see none, thank you. Number 3, public participation. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak?
We don't.
No, okay. Okay, right, let's get to the main body of the meeting then this evening. Now, I was aware that we needed to try and put some structure around the order of business for this evening's meeting. So after consulting with Councillor Arlett and with Jodie Rhymes, our planning officer, I have come up with a proposal, which I will put to you later. Before continuing, I would actually like to just convey our thanks to Julian Brooks, former Mayor of Henley-on-Thames, for putting together a comprehensive document on behalf of the Henley Society. I'd just like to reassure the Henley Society that we have seen this document and we're really rather impressed that he managed to get it down to 10 pages. I can't stress enough, it's very, very tempting to try and view these documents that we've read in the context of the whole country. But what we really must be mindful of is that we are addressing these to the particular needs and uniqueness of Henley-on-Thames. The only part of the documents where we need to broaden this remit a bit further is when we're addressing the proposed changes to the local plan and the public participation part of the documents. Because as you know, as you will have read, the government intends to reduce public participation to just the initial stages of forming a local plan. And they're retaining a neighbourhood plan as well. Okay, so before I put the proposal to you on the order of business, what I would like to do is invite Jodie Rhymes, our planning officer, to speak to both of the white papers.
Okay, so there's a lot to cover. I did send an email earlier out just with my observations, so I didn't have, so you knew what I was going to be speaking about. I won't go through that word for word, and I'll just try and point out some general points. So firstly, we'll look at the changes to the current planning system consultation document. This is the shorter of the two. That's the one, Michelle, yeah. But it's probably the most important one at the moment. These proposals could be brought in fairly quickly following the consultation response deadline on the 1st of October. There's 4 main proposals in this consultation document, which are listed on page 7. I'd probably say the most important one is the temporary lifting of the small sites threshold, below which developers would not have to contribute to affordable housing. So this would go from 10 currently to either 40 or 50 units that wouldn't need to provide any affordable housing. This could have a big impact on Henley and the rest of the country. They are proposing this change for an initial period of 18 months, but I would say if there is concerns on this, we should raise them at this point. The second proposal is to encourage first homes to be built. These would form part of discount market dwellings and would be mainly for first-time buyers. That's obviously encouraging to see proposals for affordable housing. But again, I just wanted to highlight that this could impact on other types of affordable housing coming forward in the future. It might be, say, more attractive to developers to provide this type of affordable housing rather than, say, social rent, etc. So I just wanted to highlight that. The other proposed change in this document is how local authorities will determine housing need and housing targets. Now, I won't go into this in much detail at all. It's very, very complex. And there's a algorithm that, which page is that on? It's in the middle of the document, page 14, which would be set nationally. And this could have a big impact on many local authorities across the country. Not necessarily for Henley, because South Oxfordshire already have very high housing targets because of the government growth deal. So not necessarily something that we should worry about at the moment. The proposal, there's another proposal to extend the permission in principle. Again, this shouldn't have too much of an impact. So it's just mainly the first one on the small sites threshold, moving that to 40 or 50 units, and then the first homes that I wanted to pick up on. Yeah. So shall I start on that one first, and then I can move on to the next one once you've had your discussion? Probably be.
We wait for Jen.
What I want to do is I want to hear from you entirely first, Jodie.
Sure.
And then what I would like to do is actually go to each councillor to ask for their own observations. I'm not going to put a time limit on any of you. You speak for as long as you want to and need to, feel you need to. Yes, Councillor Plant.
I was just going to say, can we break it down almost page by page? Because if Jodie goes through the whole lot, then we've got to kind of go all the way back.
No. What she's doing at the moment is she's just presenting her summary.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to ask you all to speak, but I will actually put a motion forward as to how we conduct the business this evening, and we'll see if it gets seconded. Yes, Councillor Clark.
I'd just like to know this word affordable. Now, in my view, nothing's affordable in Henley, as you pointed out with the Anderson
Councillor Clark.
development. Yes.
Councillor Clark, sorry, can I just interrupt you there?
Yeah.
What I'm going to do is to keep the order, flowing. I'm going to ask for Jodie to complete her observations, and then I'm going to come to each of you and ask for your observations. So we'll do that after Jodie.
Thank you.
Is that okay?
That's fine.
Thank you. All right. Yes, Jodie.
Thank you. So I'll move on to the second document, which is Planning for the Future white paper. This is a large document. That's the one there, the lovely photo at the front. There's a lot covered in this paper, and the government is seeking to radically change the planning system with an aim to provide greater certainty, beauty, technology, and effective public participation. However, I'll go on to each of those points. Under these proposals, local plans would expand the use of zoning tools to support development, and these would be under 3 categories. So would be growth, renewal, and protection. In both the growth and renewal areas, they're proposing substantial growth within those, and then within the protection areas, those would be areas covered by Greenbelt, AONB and conservation area. I just wanted to point out in terms of Henley and the surrounding area, there's obviously quite a lot of Greenbelt, AONB and conservation areas. So might not necessarily see large growth there, but where there would be growth, then we need to be careful. So that there could be unforeseen consequences within those growth areas from these proposals. Under this proposed system, planning policies would be set nationally through a revised MPPF, and there would no longer be development management policies within either the local plan or the neighbourhood plan, with a neighbourhood plan being restricted solely to just providing design guidance and codes to shape development. So the suitability of land for development would be determined at that first stage of determining the local plan and when the zones are drawn up in terms of growth, protection and renewal. And this would be based upon at a national level. This has, oh hi Ken. I'm midway through talking. I'm just basically gone through my observations, so I'll just continue. So this has the potential to not consider issues on a local scale that would normally be considered when an application is being looked at. So at the moment, you would have your local plan, which would include the policies and your neighbourhood plan on issues such as air quality, landscape, highways, numerous amount of policies that an application would be considered against. This is proposing to get rid of that. As well as this, the government wished to streamline public participation, and it looks like the only opportunity to comment on the suitability of development options would be at the local plan stage when the zones are drawn up, and not when a planning application is being considered by the planning officers at SODC. This, on the face of it, would remove the opportunity to scrutinise proposals and plans and understand the true implications of development on the local area. If it did come into force, then this would be very important to get everybody involved when they're drawing up the plans and separating the country into 3 bits. The document does place quite a high regard on design and the contribution to the built environment, which is positive. And there's proposals for fast track permission for those that reflect the preferences set out in the local design codes and say the local neighbourhood plans. I would question how these could be achieved, however. I've also mentioned in my comments specifically about meeting climate targets and how national development policies would address this. Also spoke previously about the impact on affordable housing provision. The white paper proposes investment in affordable housing through a new fixed rate infrastructure levy, which would replace the existing SIL and Section 106. This would also include development through permitted development, which would be good. They would require a charge. The white paper does not set out plans for broader investment in social housing, which is a concern, and there's no mention of how local authorities could be proactive to provide affordable housing through compulsory purchase. So just in conclusion, there's quite a lot in there. There's a focus on speeding up housing delivery, but this risks crowding out a lot of other important planning objectives. The paper lacks real detail at this stage, and it's unclear what the consequences could be from these proposals. I wanted to just for you to talk around what your feelings were towards these two papers, and also got the bits from
I'll make a proposal from the
chair.
chair.
The proposals as well, but I'll try and merge everything that comes out of this meeting as well as the one we held in Neighbourhood Plan Committee, and put a response together. The questions that they're asking on the consultation don't necessarily fit, so I'll have to do some work to try and get everybody's views across in that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jodie. Okay, so I've got a proposal for councillors. The proposal is that we go around the table and we offer our observations. And following this, the planning officer will prepare the changes that are required, in the consultation for both documents. So she will prepare all of those with her own understanding of the unique needs of Henley-on-Thames and her extensive and qualified knowledge of the planning system. However, it is with the exception of 5 questions from the first document, changes to the current planning system, and 10 questions from the planning for the future document, which she would like councillors' full input on. Is that seconded? Yes, Councillor Crook, thank you. Thank you. May I have a vote? It's been seconded. May I have a vote on that proposal, please? All those in favour? Councillor Plant, are you against? In favour or against? Oh, you second. You joined seconded, didn't you? Apologies. Yeah.
No,
right. That's unanimous. Thank you for your support, councillors. And of course, if there is anything that by the end of this meeting we feel that we haven't covered and we particularly want to stress, then of course we can stay on and discuss those points. Okay, so who would like to go first with their observations? Yes, Councillor Crook, you had your hand up first, I think, and then Councillor Clark.
I think this is really bad for Henley, for like anyone that grew up in Henley that wants to stay in here, who hasn't gone to university, who doesn't earn a lot of money. There's going to be nowhere for them to live. And it's absolutely disgusting. And it's almost a form of social cleansing, I feel, with these, and it's all in favour of greedy developers who don't care about anyone that grew up here. They just care about making a fast buck and build as many houses that are so overpriced that no one could afford to realistically buy them. And it is shocking. So why should we have to send our children of the future out of Henley because they can't afford to stay here? And then who will be able to work in the shops and the local area? No one, unless you're really, really rich. And that's just really sad. I think it's a really sad day for people that lived in Henley all their life and can't live here anymore. They can't raise their families because they can't afford to stay here. And it's wrong, and it's just wrong. And it's sad. I'm sorry, I feel really sad, actually.
Do you have any other input to do with
I don't like the fact that the consultation period where public participation, that's wrong as well. I don't like that as well. I'm really not in favour of that, limiting people's voice on that at all, because that's just wrong, because people may miss the opportunity and then only realise at the last minute and then they're stuck. You know, I think it's bad. It's bad, and it's all in favour of Boris's rich builder friends. I'm sorry. I'm so angry.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Crook. I think Councillor Clark was next.
I quite agree with Councillor Crook. That was my same opinion. And as I said, affordable housing for the youngsters in Henley is totally out of order. No youngsters will be able to afford these properties. And there's no infrastructure been put in place prior to this developments being placed in Henley or in and around Henley. We need houses, but not in Henley. This town is absolutely gridlocked. There's no infrastructure, parking, traffic-wise, pollution. And my other point is the one at Shiplake Thames Farm, why has that been delayed for 18 months? Because I feel that the market of selling properties is dropped. So that's why they've delayed it. They should be built, not delayed for 18 months. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Clark. Yes, who would like to go next with their observations? Yes, Councillor Plant.
I'll go through it like point by point, I guess, as Jodie did. Like, I think the formula, although incredibly complex, they're going to go with something. I don't think I have particularly any viewpoint on how we'd change it or make it better. It's anything but simple, but I'm sure it serves a purpose. On the point of the affordable housing, so I think that's point number 2. If they're actually genuinely going to provide 30% discount to first buying homes in Henley, that would be a good step. I'm 32. There isn't anything like that at the moment in Henley. Yes, you can do a help to buy, you can do a shared purchase scheme, but none of those offer you a 30% discount on current market value. I agree with what some of the other councillors are saying on is 30% the actual percentage of affordable. Do we need a percentage that makes Henley affordable? It would certainly be a hell of a lot more than 30%, but I understand with that they probably need to set a national percentage, so whether we can have much sway on the actual percentage, but I actually believe that point to be a useful point for Henley. Point number 3, I believe, is terrible news for Henley. I think Henley, once we get rid of the larger sites for development, we are going to be left with predominantly SME developments. And if for the next 18 months and potentially longer after the review, they change the threshold at affordable, we're going to be absolutely stuffed. It means something like 335, 357 would have no affordable homes on it. And as we run out of sites and as we run out of spaces to develop and we're still having numbers pushed upon us, we will be SMEs, which means we will have even less affordable homes built for us. So I think we need to have a strong input on that. 4th point, I don't believe, as Jodie says, affects us. Most of Henley is either an AONB or a conservation area, so we're fairly protected by that. Yes, nationally, if you're another area, Didcot or somewhere like that, you're probably going to get turned into a tarmac jungle. Henley, I don't think it would be as bad for us. Moving on to the white paper, I just think it lacks enough detail to even really be able to give much view on. Right now, it keeps saying that further details will be provided in the future. So unless they want to clarify some of the key points within that, I think it's difficult to actually be constructive on that document, other than say that anything without further detail that doesn't take into account the specific needs of, say, Henley, and look at the neighbourhood plan that we've spent months and years, improving and making better, and has served us to good purpose so far, I think is an absolute travesty. Every town up and down the country has such specific needs to itself, be they infrastructure, green, traffic and pollution, all of those sorts of things. And I think without greater specifics, the neighbourhood plan needs to have a strong say going forward to protect an area like Henley. As far as the housing-led regeneration, I understand the need to go up, but that is going to mean that we are going to have more planning developments, such as the Newtown Road one that we've only just discussed, where it's retail and commercial on the ground floor, and they're going to insist on 1, 2, and 3, and the floors above that being residential. I know that I was actually not against that, as long as it leads to the regeneration of some of our underdeveloped areas, such as Newtown, but the opinion of our planning committee that night was strongly against it. So again, I think that something like the housing-led regeneration could be harmful for Henley if we wish to protect such areas. The bottom of page 3 confused me slightly, so I've just got 4 question marks. The loss of the voice, the main one is that loss of voice at the planning stage. no local resident is going to have much to say at the neighbourhood plan stage. It's complex enough for us even to have a good say at the neighbourhood plan stage. So if you've removed it so the local residents have to comment on the zonal stage, neighbourhood plan stage, rather than the actual planning application stage, they don't actually know what specifics they're looking at. So I think that is a complete step away from democracy altogether. And I kind of, the final note I made is, lacking specifics, and without these, I'd want to see the neighbourhood plan still have a large influence as a fail-safe to protect somewhere like Henley, and that's pretty much all I had to say.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Plants. Okay, Councillor Gavishak, if you want to go next. Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much. Yeah, Lawrence, I completely agree with a large amount of what you said. The watering down or the doing away of neighbourhood plans, where local people decide locally what is needed, and clearly the need in Henley is for more affordable. For that, I will take issue with the algorithm and sort of make the comment that it was, we've had recent experience of an algorithm that is nationally applied, and it was a complete and utter balls up. Excuse my language, Chair. The algorithm principle, talk about the principle of this algorithm, or the principle of the planning, is that if you are in areas of high affluence, which Henley is, and the south of England is, that if the house prices are high, it's because you haven't built enough houses. Therefore, if you build more houses, the prices come down. It takes no account of employment, because if you have employment in an area, people will need houses and people will pay more for houses. So you've actually got to have a shift in the economy of Great Britain in terms of employment to actually shift employment elsewhere. The other thing that's absolutely stupid, though, is actually this move on the threshold for sites. So in an area like the south of England that is very, very expensive, we are going to have to build more houses, and on sites of 50 or less, there's no affordable. So therefore, you're going to have sites of 50, £500,000, £1 million houses, where there's no contribution to the social infrastructure of the communities around them. Where are the care home workers going to live? Where are the teachers going to live? Where are the people? I mean, to afford a house in Henley, you need an income of about 90 grand plus. And you ain't going to do this with this algorithm. So it's got to be fundamentally changed. Completely and utterly against the change in terms of affordable for the from the 10. Basing the affordable on sites of 10 or more needs to actually be built on. And what it should be is that a site with 10 or more should have 40% affordable, or even 50% affordable, of which 25% should be for first-time buyers. Lawrence, I agree with you on that point. It's a very good point that for first-time buyers, but I'm sorry, I'm going on a bit about this particular point, but first-time buyers in the Henley area are still going to have to pay the market price minus 30%. So it's still essentially unaffordable. In terms of the white paper, there is virtually nothing on the environment, nothing on biodiversity, nothing on trees, wildlife corridors. There is a nod to climate change, but there's absolutely no detail at all. And as far as this beautiful headlines in the white paper saying we are building for beauty, the only beauty I can see in it is the beauty where the developers take away 30% profit. That is the beautiful bit of the white paper, because it's a developer's charter. Okay, I'll leave it on there. I will come back with a few more points later. Thanks.
Social cleansing, sorry. And it's disgusting. Shame on them. Boris and his mates. I'm having my rant now. Sorry. I think it's disgusting. I think they should be ashamed of themselves. You know, I feel it's social cleansing. I'm really sorry. I do. I think it's appalling. You know. Sorry.
Michelle, you're muted.
The Liberals.
Sorry,
and the
Councillor Arlett.
Yes, Chairman, we had a really good discussion on this at the neighbourhood plan on Monday, and I would have liked actually the person that wrote these reports. I'd really like to have him here in front of him and us tonight, and obviously question what's been written in these papers, because as we said at the neighbourhood plan, if you look at the changes to the current planning system on page 7. That probably gives you most of the reasons why there's probably not too much wrong at this moment in time. There is sufficient plan applications going around. People will only build houses if they're needed. And what you've got here is a one size fits all. So it doesn't matter if you live here, if you live in London, if you live in Hartlepool, if you live in Liverpool. This is meant to fit everybody, and it won't. It's as simple as that. And I think if you read the reports, and it took me ages to read the changes to the current planning system. There's only 40 pages there, and I think I spent the best part of 2 hours going backwards and forwards because I couldn't really make a lot of sense on what was being written. And it seems, I would imagine, some young lad somewhere has been given some information, and he's just started writing and writing and writing. And I'd question actually whoever wrote the report if they really know what they're talking about.
It was written by Generic.
Well, it's obviously been written by someone that doesn't know a lot about houses. And I think, as we did say,
Generic.
why call in Savills to give advice on housing? Why call an estate agent then? You'd do better talking to builders. Builders will tell you why they either build houses and sell them, or they build them and they don't sell them. But going on from there, the situation where, what person in their right mind would suggest that we build housing sites from 40 to 50 houses and we don't have affordable units in them, be it SMEs or larger builders? That point alone really does not make sense, and someone really should answer that point and basically come up with why they put that in this document, because it makes no sense at all. And where I said it contradicts each other, because if you read somewhere else, it then says we need more affordable housing. So you either need them or you don't. But to say you don't and then to say you do, I just don't understand it. And I think the sad thing is, and I've been through quite a few of these, you'll answer this paper, we'll put some probably common sense reasons forward, but then again, who's going to take notice of it? And I can only go back to the local plan when that went to consultation, and I spent a long time over that. The neighbourhood plan spent a long time going through it. The planning committee went a long time as well, put a lot of hours into it. We wrote up the report, Kath finished it off. We submitted the report with some really good ideas, and we never got a reply. Never got a reply, so who really took any notice of what we said? And the sad thing about this, we've got people that have been on planning committees for a long, long time and have had these papers been put in front of us, and no one's going to listen to us. And I think that is the real sad thing about this. We've obviously got, Jodie and Kath with their experience. We'll send a good paper away to whoever, but who's really going to pick it up and look at it? Who's going to respond to our comments? And the answer to that is probably nowhere. I'm really disappointed. I've read both of these documents, the planning for the future and this other one here, the changes to the current. And to me, it's just a load of buzzwords in there that everybody uses that writes these types of reports. And unfortunately, probably not so much it offers Henley. I think it offers a lot of people, a lot of areas, nothing, absolutely nothing at all. And I think it comes back to the old, if it ain't broken, why fix it? And I think the planning in general around this area, I think it works pretty well. You know, okay, but we have a little bit of a cough and a grunt at times, but it wouldn't take a lot to improve what we've already got. But to change all this is just absolutely crazy. So, you know, I don't support these documents, whatever. You know, I answer all the question yes, no's, and you know, unfortunately, it's going to waste a lot of people's time because we will not get a response to what we say. But we have to do it, and I'll leave it there for the time being. Just say very disappointed with what we've got in front of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Arlett. May I just ask you as well, Councillor Arlett, did you get a reply from Adrian Duffield as to how SODC intends to return their responses to these white papers?
Well, actually, he's on holiday.
Ah.
But Paula Fox was going to take it up for me, and I haven't heard back from Paula either yet. So no, I've received nothing from SODC. Nothing at all.
We'll keep councillors informed about that then. Hopefully we'll have a reply for the planning meeting next Tuesday. Okay, let's actually, I'm going to give you some of what I picked up as well. I can assure you it's not in any way dissimilar to what you've picked up. I've picked up exactly the same as yourselves. We've got 1 million planning applications, decisions still outstanding. They remain unbuilt. Why is that? How can we make sure that they are actually built out? The evidence from the Letwin report was they don't build out because they're trying to hold, you know, keep the market buoyant and keep prices artificially high. So you just drip feed into the market. We need really, really clear law on this, because, you know, if builders aren't builders and property developers aren't going to build out, we need further powers to actually make sure they either build out, or perhaps we can do a compulsory purchase and do it ourselves. We've got 1 million people on the social housing waiting list, and that's not been addressed in these papers at all. Democracy. We know that already we don't get to vote on a local plan. It's done by the planning inspectorate. We go, you know, people have a say when it comes up at the local plan stage. We do one of these consultations, but then it's just inspected. And even when councillors who put a certain local plan in place, and they vote those people out, the new local councillors, you know, there's a clear message there. The new local councillors are overridden by the Secretary of State. Who's to say that that's not going to happen over again? There's not enough detail about democracy at this. You know, people don't get engaged at this stage. They just don't get, you know, the level of feedback you get in consultations is so low. Wasn't it something like 28% we got for the neighbourhood plan? It's very low. PDRs and infills, you know, they're a big bugbear in Henley-on-Thames, and there's not much around those two. Climate emergency, again, I agree with you all, there's not enough, it's not ambitious enough with climate emergency. And you know, there's nothing about addressing traffic. I mean, they've done a little bit on cycling and walking, but you know, what about traffic? So yeah, there's a lot in there. Unfortunately, it didn't make good reading. I mean, all of their reasoning that they put into the first 30 pages of the planning for the future, I was thinking, yep, that needs updating. Yeah, I agree, that needs updating. And it was all very, you know, and then you got into the detail, it's like a big letdown. That's my view. It's very disappointing. Okay, let's now move on with our motion.
Can I?
Yes.
Can I pick up on what? Or
please
sorry,
do.
Stephanie, you pick up on one point. You made an absolute excellent point right at the beginning, that in fact, if for 18 months the government does relax the affordable thing, then all that will happen is that SMEs, small medium builders, will bung in 18 months or 5 years of planning permissions in 18 months. And they will get the permission in perpetuity to for 50 houses with no affordable, and then not build them. And they'll sit on that site for years and years and years. And it's only when the market can sustain the releasing of the housing that they will then be built. So it actually isn't going to solve the housing problem at all. It's just going to be land banking, land banking, land banking going forward. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree. Would anybody else like to speak before we move on to the papers?
Yeah.
Any final points? Yes, Councillor.
I'll just mention one thing. I work for a lot of major house building companies over about 30 to 40 years. And what I can tell you, when they sell, they build fast. When they don't sell, they stop. And that's 30, 40 years of working in that industry. And that's exactly what works. So if the big builders know they can sell and make money, believe me, they will sell. So the problem we've got in this town at the moment, they're not selling because they're too expensive. And that's what will happen. That determines.
And they still don't reduce the price. They can afford to hold on to them.
But that determines at the end of the day if houses sell, and it's the price. And that all comes down to landowners or builders paying or developers paying much too much money for land. And if they paid less money for land, they could build more affordable houses. It's as simple as that. Anyway, there we go.
Yes, Councillor Crook.
I've just had a thought, and it's probably nothing to do with this, but I did hear that the government were going to help, like local authority, like housing association, to build more social. So what's happened to that? Has that just been completely forgotten?
Jodie, have you got any advice for Councillor Crook on that point?
Because they said, oh, this is going to, I'm sure I heard that they said, oh, this is going to be the biggest council social housing thing. What happened to that? It just disappeared.
Councils tend to get rid of land, so they got rid of a lot of land a long time ago, and they don't own the land to be able to build the houses. So it's through other processes like compulsory purchase, but not a lot of that happens. So at the moment, there's not a lot of building by councils.
It is so sad. It's just because no one will be able to afford to live in Henley. No one, unless you're really, really rich. And
Donna,
Councillor Gavishak.
In answer to your question, it has long been an ambition. Well, certainly for the last couple of years, 3 years, for SODC to actually jump into the building of houses. But there's been no government support, no government money coming for that. We would have to do it out of our own resources. And the problem is that in a few months' time, SODC are going to have to put a revised budget forward, which will involve more cuts, because COVID has cost SODC an extra couple of million quid that could have gone into building some houses. OCC have had to put a revised budget, and it was voted through last week. I voted against it, where there was a £12 million reduction in services. So local authorities are not going to be in a position to actually build houses, which they would want to do.
I think there is still, I think the Public Works Loan Board still exists. I think there are funds available if they want to go, and I don't know what the terms are. Councillor Clark, you had another point before we move on? Last point, please.
Councillor Gavishak just said, last year, the government handed out 240 billion to local authorities across the country. And I believe that Oxfordshire got over 3 million. Can you explain to me where all that money went to?
You're talking about roads, not houses, Mr. Clark,
No,
Councillor Clark. And
social
Oxfordshire got 3 million, and it's been invested in roads.
Okay. Not in Henley.
Okay, right, let's go on to the first
Well, it
document.
has in
then.
Henley, but that's another point. Go down St Andrews Road.
Yeah, and Elizabeth Road.
Yeah.
Right.
Carry on.
Let's move on, councillors. We're going to go through the 5 questions that Jodie wanted us to debate and offer answers to. So we're going to look at the first one, changes to the current planning system. Now, the very first question that Jodie would like clarification from councillors on is question 8, which is the government is proposing policy compliant planning applications will deliver a minimum of 25% of on-site affordable housing as first homes.
What page is it?
Page.
Question 8.
Where is it?
It's page 21.
Where?
21.
Paper. Is it this paper?
Yes, it's
Or
the
the-
white one. It's the
Which
white
one?
one.
Yeah, the white one.
The first one on the agenda, which is this one.
Yeah, but what?
Not the one with the pretty pictures.
I'm getting lost. So is it?
No, the one without the pretty pictures.
Yeah.
Without, without the pretty pictures.
Without the pretty pictures, page 21.
Changes to the current planning system.
Oh, yeah.
I'm reading it out to you anyway, Councillor Crook.
No, it's just all confusing.
And a minimum of 25% of off-site contributions toward first homes where appropriate. Which do you think is the most appropriate option for the remaining 75% of affordable housing secured through developer contributions? Please provide reasons and/or evidence for your views. Who'd like? Can we just have a couple of councillors just put a proposal forward for that particular question? Councillor Arlett?
Yeah, Chairman, the answer isn't there actually. We just need to stick to
Yeah,
the 40% affordable units.
on site.
Yeah, on site. That's all we need to do. When people talk about contributions, it's never enough. A prime example is along Reading Road, the McCarthy and Stone. They've given £800,000, which would buy you 2 flats at Highlands Farm. Now, if they had give the 40% affordable, you know, they'd probably have to build, I don't know what, 18 properties there. So the last thing you want is to ask for contributions, because it will never make up for the percentage of affordable. So I think we should just stick to what's in SODC, 40% affordable and no contributions. We're quite happy with 40%.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement with you. Do anybody else like to speak to that? To Councillor Arlett's suggestion?
Yep.
No?
That's good.
We're in agreement. Okay. Are you happy with that, Jodie? Yeah. Okay, the other question is question 17, please. Now, do you want the page number for question 17?
Yeah.
It's on page 27. Do you agree with the proposed approach to raise the small sites threshold for a time-limited period?
No.
That's right, no.
Go on, Lawrence, go for it.
100% not a chance. Keep
No.
it exactly as it is or improve it.
In fact, lower the threshold to 5.
Yeah, or 4. Just
4 to make it,
then
yeah,
they
that's
have-
right.
Yeah.
And increase it to 50% affordable.
Do you
Certainly
suggest?
in this area.
Yes.
Area, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jodie, you'll know how to put the evidence base behind that response.
Yeah, that's fine.
And you know, we've got live examples, you know,
Is that an
of
order?
that.
Chairman,
Sorry.
Is that an order?
Do you want to have a vote on it, Councillor Arlett?
Oh, fine. Go on, carry
Yeah,
on.
we're in agreement. We're in agreement with that one. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the next. Let's move on to the next question, which is question 18. What is the appropriate level of small sites threshold?
10, 4.
10. 10. 5.
5.
I'm with Lawrence on this. 5.
5.
Higher, lower?
5.
Yeah.
Let's go for 5.
Okay, I have a proposal. Sorry, Councillor Gavashak.
Absolutely not 40 or 50. Yes, it should be 5. Yeah.
5.
Okay, Councillor Clark, are you okay with 5?
Yeah, I am.
Councillor Crick is. Councillor Arlett?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah. Okay.
And actually, they've given us an opportunity because 3 says other, please specify. So how kind to give us an option.
Yeah, it's unusual that they actually phrase that. They normally just ask a closed question and don't allow you to.
Yes. Choose between 40 and 50. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So the next question is question 20. Do you agree with linking the time limited period to economic recovery?
Go for it, Lawrence.
And raising the threshold for an initial period of 18 months?
No.
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 They won't go back on it. They'll introduce it, say it works, and then we'll be stuck with it for henceforth and forever.
Yeah. And we should really make the point, and developers, what they'll do is they'll apply for planning permission for 18 months and they'll have them in perpetuity and not build the sites out.
Yeah.
It will be completely counterproductive.
Yeah. And again, you know, we have to emphasize, you know, how we're constrained by the AONB and conservation areas, etc. We don't have much land supply left.
Actually, maybe we should, or sorry, forgive me. Maybe we should make the broader point that this one size fits all strategy is complete rubbish. Because certainly up north, if you say, sorry, I won't get patronising now. They may well need a time limited, you know, developers charter to get the economy going, but we certainly don't need it down here.
Yeah, this is one of the points that the NALC have picked up in their summary, is that the country, you know, has it's it's got such a long history to it, and it's a very small surface area that we've got here. So it's very much more nuanced than they're implying in their document. It's like we've got great swathes of land to play with, like Texas or something. You know, it's really quite odd. Okay, let's move on. The next one is a question. Sorry, Councillor Clark.
Are we taking votes on these items?
We've already agreed on that last one.
Right.
Yeah. So the next one, because it was 5. Okay. The next one is question 20. No, sorry, the question 20. No, actually, Councillor Clark, you are right. I don't think I have taken a vote on this one. So let's take a vote on this one. Time limited period, 18 months. Is it no? It's a no. Yes. No. Yes, it's a no.
No.
Councillor Arnott?
I'm confused now.
Yes, it's a no. Okay.
Sorry.
Right, thank you.
Sorry,
so
can I
the last question.
Unless there are people speaking sort of against it, there is unanimity. There is a majority. Yeah.
I know. I like to make sure that I've got everything.
Okay. Yep.
Place, hand, etc. Question 23. Are there any other ways in which the government can support SME builders to deliver new homes during the economic recovery period?
Yeah. Reduce the cost of land.
Are we any other suggestions, Councillor Gavashak, Councillor Plant?
Continue to import cheap bricks from the European community.
Councillor Plant?
Why on earth does the government want to support SME builders anyway when they're all they're interested in is furthering their own bank accounts in the first place? It's a completely wrong question. It should be, how does the government help support local councils rather than SME builders? I couldn't give a crap about SME builders. They only care about their own profit line anyway. If we give them cheaper land, they're still going to charge the residents the same price anyway. They're just going to make a bigger profit in the process.
Yep.
Not about that. It's about changing who wins and loses in this scenario. And at the moment, it's the developer that wins every time. The government tries to help them, and the only people that lose out are those trying to buy homes each time.
Yep.
And the taxpayer.
Okay, so so the agreement is then that we just need to turn that on its head and make sure that councils are supported to deliver affordable housing and social housing for the public, not SMEs.
Yeah.
Or enabling SMEs to do them. Sorry, yes, Councillor Gavashak.
Look, there is one thing that would support SMEs and also support local communities. You can build whatever you want within reason, provided that's 50% affordable, and those flats and units cost 100,000 quid. There you go. That would support local communities and also SME builders.
Which leads back to the problem of the cost of the land that Councillor Arlott was spoke about earlier.
Yep.
Okay. So so we've got several points in there. Jodie, did you note all of those down?
Yeah, I've got those. Yeah.
Okay. I think everyone's spoken on that one, so we've all got a point in there.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of different questions, so I might come back to you with specifics later on when I go through them.
Yeah, okay. You've got enough to be getting on with, though.
When's the deadline for the consultation?
This one is the middle of October, I believe. Is it the middle of October or a bit earlier?
What was the 1st of October?
This one's the 1st of October.
1st of October.
Now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, thank you, councillors. We've concluded the questions that Jodie wanted clarification on. Councillor Plant, anything else you'd wanted to say?
If Jodie's got questions on the ones we've just done, can we cover those now before we have to come back to them later?
I think what Jodie was saying was that she needs to sorry, you'd probably be able to get into your head more than me.
Well, there's like 30 odd questions. I did want to just check with you in terms of, so you've talked a lot about the reduction of affordable housing for 40 or 50 units. So I know I'm quite clear on that. You did speak a little bit about the changes to the housing need, but I'm going to get quite a lot of that from the neighbourhood planning group. Have you got any specifics in relation to the first homes requirements? There's quite a few questions on that.
Well, I think it goes back to councillors. I can't remember which of you made the point. Sorry. I mean, Councillor Plant welcomes that.
Really.
However, our point is that it's still not an affordable starter home.
Yeah, that's fine.
Such an unaffordable level.
Yep.
And you know, people, as you know, the national wage, the average wage is something like, is it still 27,000 or something like that? You need to be earning, you know, quite a lot more than that to be able to afford one of those new starter homes.
Yeah, that's fine.
It says it in the paper that it's a 4 times multiple. So if you are in Henley having to buy £400,000 home, you need 100 grand's worth of income, which is clearly stupid. So it's actually in the paper. We should quote the paper back at them.
Yeah, and it is actually already actually at the expense of affordable housing and social housing. Because, you know, they're not going to say, right, it's going to be 25% starter home and then 40% affordable. It's not going to work like that. The starter home is going to be at the expense of the other ways of providing affordable and social housing. So
the other point that we should get in is actually the social rental. We should definitely make a comment that certainly in Henley, the price of social rental should be, well, what's the figure? You know, £400
I think
a month.
it's 50-60%, isn't it, from market rate?
Of market rate. Well, it shouldn't be. It should be a fixed amount because people who've got fixed income. So social rental should be 400 quid a month, full stop. End of. Wherever you are.
It's a little bit more.
Crook.
Sorry. Social is about just, God, I can't. It's over £100 a month. Social rent is.
Yeah.
So
400 a month. Yeah.
A bit more than
it
that.
should be.
Oh, nearly 5. So it's. Yeah.
Jodie, anything else?
Just with regards to the permission in principle for major developments, we didn't really touch on that.
I thought you said at the start that permission in principle didn't really affect.
It shouldn't really affect Henley. It's to do with brownfield land. So I just wanted to check that you're in agreement with that.
Yeah. Councillors, any comments? Councillor Plant?
Just exactly that. The centre of Henley's conservation area and the surrounding areas are AONB, so no effect on us.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
But sorry,
Yes,
it's slightly. Sorry, forgive me for chipping in. It slightly does affect us. You're right. It doesn't directly affect Henley, but if there are brownfield sites elsewhere in the country that get easier permissions, then the developers and builders will move into those areas where they can make the most profit. Therefore, it might mean that the houses we want built in Henley are not built.
Councillor Plant?
But on that point, it means that if the whole nation is looking at 300,000 to be built, it's wherever they're easiest to be built. So at least it'll take some of the housing load off of us. So it's it's a slightly grey one. I'd rather they were built on brown sites rather than AONB around us.
Agreed. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I think the government have this misconception, don't they, that if you just build and build and build and build, the house prices will come down, and that doesn't make sense for me.
Right.
Right, let's move on to this document now and go through the questions which Jodie wanted clarification from councillors on, please.
Please.
Which one would you
Right,
like first?
there are 10 questions that Jodie would like clarification from councillors on. So I'll start with the first one, which is question 3.
Where is that? Sorry.
Which page is that one on, Jodie?
It's on 27.
That plan for the future.
Yes, we're on to the next document now.
Yeah. Which one? Question 3.
Sorry, did you say page 27?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want me to put the full question with the suggested answers, or would you just like me to put the question?
Just go straight to the question 4. That's
Just
fine.
say number 1 or number 2 or number 3.
Yeah. So number 4. What are your top 3 priorities for planning in your local area?
Okay. So you're happy with number 3 then?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Number 4. What are your top 3 priorities for planning in your local area? Yes, Councillor Arlett and then Councillor Plant.
Yeah, that we become decision makers on plan applications, that people listen to our neighbourhood plan, and we'll try and sort out SODC local plan. That would be my 3.
Councillor Plant?
Do we have to choose from the list they've given because Ken's aren't on there?
I would think so, yeah. But I think it could. There's a list there. But
in which case, can I go for affordability for young people, the environment, and climate change?
Any other suggestions, Councillor Clark?
Yes, the planning committee in Henley should have the right to do.
That's not on there.
And don't get overridden by SODC district councillors.
Any other points?
The list is here.
Why do we have to go to their list? There's probably some 22-year-olds written that's never written a paper before. Okay, 23-year-old then.
I mean, there is a case for just saying all of the above, but mostly we want X, Y, and Z, as we've just discussed.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Councillor Plant.
So from the points that we've generally discussed on planning, it has generally seemed to be, the environment, our climate going forward, and affordability. They seem to be the issues that bug us the most. You know, yes, we can look at protecting our own geographical area as well, but those three come up again and again and again. And if we look at the neighbourhood plan, that's pretty much the main 3 points in it.
Mm.
Yep.
I think we
Okay.
should make, I think we should make the point on affordability. Like, if you're going to build affordability houses for a reasonable price, when you sell, you should sell for a reasonable price. There should be something somewhere that stops you buying for £150,000 and then 3 years later you sell for 400, because you then lose the affordable property. So there needs to be a clause in there somewhere that it stays affordable.
Affordable, stay affordable.
Yeah,
Councillor
That's-
Crook.
yeah, because I would like to reiterate that, because people have bought, say, social housing and then sold them on. They bought them at a very cheap discount and then they've sold them on. Like some houses in my road go for like nearly 500,000, and it's ridiculous because they probably bought them for 30,000–40,000 pounds. And it is,
Yeah, I know it's a legacy from the 1980s, isn't it? And it's you know, as far as I'm aware, I mean, I was, you know, I'm not going to tell you how old I was in the 1980s, but correct me if I'm wrong, in the 1980s there was no consultation on selling public assets like the social housing stock.
they
Am
just
I
didn't,
right?
just didn't rebuild the houses.
Well, no, there were debates in Parliament and votes, but
were the public consulted?
yeah, oh yeah, at 3 elections that Margaret Thatcher won.
Yeah, I guess you could say that's the ultimate decider, isn't it?
The problem is the public would have supported it at the time because they got to buy cheap, affordable housing and then they got the benefit from it. So wait till we introduce a massive capital gains tax on all the baby boomer generation. All those in Henley and the surrounding areas who have bought a property for 20,000 and now sitting on £1 million, tax them to pay back the debt we've currently got. So the youth today actually stand a chance in the future. Bring on a massive capital gains tax.
Is that
what an outrageous suggestion?
Is that
it is for Stefan, Kevin, Ian. I'm like, bring it on.
Yes.
Yeah. And you do know that you can actually do your own individual answers to these questions if you were so minded to as well.
Jodie's
Careful of
narration.
turning into a quasi-socialist.
Yeah. Right, let's move on. The next question is question 5, actually, which is over the page. Do you agree with our proposals for streamlining the development management content of local plans and setting out general development management policies nationally?
No.
Well,
Everyone's no.
the question, it's right at the bottom.
Councillor Plants.
Any attempt to simplify it will lack any specificity to geographical areas. And every answer we've given so far says it needs to be specific to Henley, be it affordability or percentages or whatever. So any attempt to simplify it will simply, run roughshod over areas that need special attention. Yeah. So it would be a travesty for areas like us that are specific.
Yep.
Okay, I think we're all in agreement with that. Jodie, do you need any more pointers on that one?
No, I think we've covered it now and before, so that's fine.
Okay. The next question is actually just number 6, which is, do you agree with our proposals for streamlining the... Oh, I've just done that one, sorry.
No,
we've done that one. The next one is question 9. Do you agree that there should be automatic outline permission for areas for substantial development?
Sorry,
areas?
are we skipping 7 and 8 then?
Yes, Jodie didn't want clarification on those, did you?
Right, page
if you want to say anything,
yeah, I mean, you can. If you feel that they're important, then please, Councillor Gavchak, do say so.
No, I was just, yeah. Where is 9? What page?
35.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. I'm there now.
Okay, this is actually specifically as well. This is 9A. Okay. So I'll repeat it again. Do you agree that there should be automatic outline permission for areas for substantial development, growth areas with faster routes for detailed consents? Councillor Plant.
Don't think we'd be deemed a growth area. So does it directly affect us?
Jodie?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like, we can answer it, but I just don't think, you know, we could easily say no.
Yeah. Do you want to take those three all together, just in
Okay.
terms? It's just, you have talked about this before. Just in terms of the general zoning of and splitting into three. Just
Perhaps the one that's more relevant for us is B. Do you agree with our proposals above for the consent arrangements for renewal and protected areas? So protected areas perhaps is the one that applies to us. And yes, I think we would agree that those areas do need to be protected.
Yep.
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 Let's just quickly look at C. Do you think there is a case for allowing new settlements to be brought forward under the nationally significant infrastructure project?
Sorry, Michelle, can I just go back to the first two? It depends how big the zones are, though, doesn't it?
Again, Jodie, am I right that there's not actually any guidance on how big these zones will be?
I mean, I can imagine Didcot being a growth area, but there are tiny little villages very near Didcot that are that should be in protected status. So are you going to have big uns and then little microcosms, or is it just going to be the whole of this area is growth?
Yeah, the actual detail in that it's going to be impossible to decide on every piece of land in terms of, there's going to be a lot of debate on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And remember that we were really replying on behalf of Henley-on-Thames, not the district.
So that last one's probably
irrelevant,
specific to Henley. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, let's move on then. The next one is number 10, which is, do you agree with our proposals to make decision making faster and more certain? Are you okay? Is that the right one you wanted? Yeah, I've been highlighted by you, Jodie.
Yeah.
No.
No, we don't.
I put no.
Yeah.
No.
Everyone's a no.
Again, it's the same issue if they're trying to standardize something and put in codes nationally to make decisions fast. And it's like, how on earth do you do that? Like, I'd love to see anyone try and create that framework. It's going to be impossible. You couldn't even mark a bunch of GCSEs and A-levels, let alone create this.
Well, yes, but Lawrence, they simplified the process.
Yeah, well,
got it completely wrong, but it was simpler.
Okay, are you happy with a flat no with that?
Yeah.
Jodie?
Yeah. Again, a lot of what you've said covers most of these questions, so doesn't it? So yeah, it's fine.
Okay. All right, let's move on to them. We're actually skipping to number 15.
What page is it?
Let's have a look at the page number for you.
44.
44.
Actually, do you mind if we can we just go back a page? Because I'm actually really interested in this section here, but unfortunately the detail is too scant. And the question is number 14. Do you agree there should be a stronger emphasis on the build out of developments? And if so, what further measures would you support? So this is what I said in my summary at the start of the meeting. Yes, we do need some planning controls in that area.
If you get permission and you haven't built it within 3 years, you lose it.
Yeah. I mean, even a shorter time frame than 3 years, actually.
18 months.
18 months. Councillor Arlett, any views?
Well, it depends on how many numbers of the houses you're going to build at the end of the day. That's where the problem lies. I think what it should do is that, similar to what we've got up the road here where I am, they've basically slowed the building down because they're not selling, and maybe if there was a stipulation to build in X amount of time, depending on how many houses you've got. I'm sure Stefan could do an algorithm for that one. You could then make the builder build out, and then they would have to sell them for a realistic price. So there you go.
Hey, genius level algorithm.
Why would they have to sell it?
Well, they have to sell. Well, you'd make them. You'd make them build out the site and sell them, and then you would get your 300,000 a year.
Yeah, but you can make it compulsory for
Get more than 300,000 a year.
You can make it compulsory for them to build them out, but you can't do a forced sale date.
Well, they're not going to. As a builder, you're not going to sit on 100 houses. You couldn't afford to. You'd have to sell them.
Why? Crest Nicholson are sat on a land bank at the moment that they don't need to move on.
Yeah, but they're a big builder. They're a big builder, aren't they?
But they're the only ones that you would want to do a forced build out faster. You know, this isn't going to affect SMEs. This is just big sites, Taylor Wimpey, Crest Nicholson, and guys who really couldn't care less about waiting another 10 years. They have plots of land that they hold for 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
And that gets to the heart of the problem. We need to break up that system that we've got.
Well, we can have a tweak to Ken's algorithm though, Lawrence, which says they have to build them out within 3 years, and any that aren't sold become affordable for first-time buyers. There you go. And that would mean that they would sell.
Yeah.
I think this is what Taylor Wimpey are doing at Thames Farm in Shiplake.
No, they're not building any affordable.
No, but
Okay, let's move on then to the question. It was number 15 that Jodie wanted our guidance on, which is, I'll read it to you. So it's on the next page. What do you think about the design of new development that has happened recently in your area?
Which ones?
Yeah.
What the
Oh,
ugly
and
ones?
I think we'll have to just kind of speak, you know, what's the kind of the first thing that kind of pops into your head?
Well, the ugly ones, which I call them the ugly ones because it looks like a prison. The one on the roundabout in Newtown Road, that looks like a prison. It's ugly, and I don't know who would want to live there. It's
Well,
horrible.
that was permitted development, wasn't it?
I would imagine a prisoner would probably want to live there. If it looked like a prison.
It's not pleasant to look at. It's not very nice, and there's some others that are not very nice either.
Well,
so.
I mean, my personal input would be PDRs. Okay,
Yeah.
they're not up to standard.
Okay.
Also, when it comes to infills, you're because of the way the national planning policy framework is phrased, when you've got infill sites, you're playing with the housing mix that isn't right for the street. You can't preserve the housing mix. The housing mix needs to be preserved at every single end, whether it's a bungalow or a big 7-bedroom house. And that is breaking up the town, the look of the towns and the cities and villages, etc. And SME builders tend to just have one design of house that they pay for, and then they go and replicate it all over the area. And I just think that it looks awful. That's my personal opinion. Have councillors got any other observations?
I think we should be careful mentioning different developments that have taken place in Henley.
Why? Because they're
But
ugly.
they're asking us. They're asking us.
Well,
for
I know, but we need to be careful. Like if a builder's not moving houses or flats for one reason, I don't think we should add fuel to the fire. I think we just need to be very careful on what we say here. Maybe if a site's been complete and they're all full, that's fine. But small town Henley, somebody might get the wrong idea of what we're saying. We'll be front page again. So I think we should just skip this.
Well, you've highlighted it now, so it will be.
I haven't mentioned a site though.
No, I haven't mentioned any. I haven't mentioned any sites either.
Well, that's what I'm asking for. Yeah.
I haven't mentioned any sites either.
Sorry.
Okay. And yes, Councillor Plants.
Well, I was going to say, on the whole, like, if this question is talking really purely about the aesthetics, like, are they beautiful? Are they ugly? Are they well designed? Are they poorly designed? And I think there are definitely a few exceptions, like Donna said, but I generally say that on the whole, I don't think, the majority are ugly and poorly designed. I think we're doing okay at the moment. Like, I don't think we're ruining our town. I think as councillors and previous councillors will be able to go, you know what, on the whole, they are good. I think on the whole, they are well designed. And I think on the whole, I know it's very subjective, but I think on the whole, they're relatively attractive. I don't think we built
beauty's
any,
in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, I don't think we built any abominations that universally the town hates. So, I think on the whole, positive.
Could I just say,
There's Councillor Crook.
Maybe if developers would like to make things not quite so, what's the word, dark, because it's the dark built,
You're talking about the exterior, or you're talking about light going into the
so it's almost depressing. We like nice brick built structures.
Yeah, so carry on with the vernacular that we've got, that's quite typical in Henley on Thames.
Not quite depressing a bit, maybe feels. Maybe it's the way they're trying to replicate other things near to where they are, but it can have a bit of a depressing if it's dark. So nice brick feel. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Councillor Clark.
Yeah, there is some in St Andrews Road, a lot different from the brick houses. They're painted white, pink, blue, and it looks totally out of order to me. It spoils the road itself.
But it's nice, lovely.
I mean, yeah. And any other ideas? Any other thoughts?
No, let's move on.
Yeah, you've got enough, Jodie. Yeah. Okay. Right. So the next question is number 16. Sustainability is at the heart of our proposals. What is your priority for sustainability in your area, Councillor Plant?
All of the below. Yeah, everything listed there. Less reliance on cars, more green and open spaces, energy efficient, new buildings, more trees.
Yeah.
We could also list greater reliance on walking, greater reliance on cycling, passive homes, carbon neutral. We could throw the entire kitchen.
Public transport.
Yeah, we could throw the kitchen sink if you want to at that one, Jodie, but it depends how long you want to answer it.
Yes, Councillor Crook.
But they still have to be able to provide parking. Because people still will need cars. Where are they going to park?
No, because if you look at the future study of what towns are going to be like, we're not going to drive individual vehicles. By 2050, the individual vehicle most likely won't exist, is what most studies are saying. If you chat to Stantec and people like that, we have to fundamentally shift how we think we're going to move around in the future. So it's not an argument for now, but
But a lot of people do have cars. So if they buy a property and they have a car, they're going to need to park their car somewhere. There's nowhere for them to. Then it clogs up all the side roads because they've got no allocated parking, and then we get the whole issue with the people parking, and it's not safe for people. So that's half the problem, is when we have these unallocated parking spaces, because I still think people will be using cars.
Yeah, because everyone will just move over to electric and think that they're being very environmentally friendly.
I don't have a car, but
and plus we've not got a lot of employment left in Henley on Thames with all of the PDR, so people are having to drive to their work. Although I am wondering whether the COVID, working from home is going to be, a character of the future. Can I just make a suggestion here? Is yes, we like all of the above, but we'd like it sooner. I think that 2050 is. I mean, I do know that they've got more information and consultation coming forward in the autumn, but they have to be more ambitious. It has to be 2030, in my opinion.
That's if we're still around.
Any other points, councillors, before we move to the next one? No? Okay. So let's move on to number 20 then. Do you agree with our proposals for implementing a fast track for beauty?
Where is that?
Page 54.
Is it? Fast track for beauty. What does that specifically mean? Like trees or aesthetics on the buildings?
Jodie?
What is it?
They want beautiful people to buy the houses.
All people with plastic surgery and stuff.
Oh, we're just getting silly now.
So it will take into account the design codes and guidance that would be in the either local plan or neighbourhood plan, and those that meet those requirements would get automatic planning permission.
Councillor Plant.
I actually love it in principle, and they even go as far as to say, require some technical development testing and we'll develop a pilot program. But again, it's one of these, it's really annoying to almost write the exact same answer again, but what works for one area doesn't work for another area. So the policy point that makes a beautiful scheme for Birmingham, Manchester, the Isle of Mull is not going to be the same as it's going to be for Henley-on-Thames. So as much as I would love to see a policy that could be geographically specific, cater to our needs, meet the demands of Donna, Michelle, and all of us with what we think is beautiful in Henley, it's not going to be possible. And if it is, wonderful, let's vote for it. But
Any other comments from councillors?
No.
I mean, it's very, very difficult. It's very subjective, isn't it? What is beautiful to one person is not going to be beautiful to another. So I just don't understand how they're going to implement this. That would be my point. Yes, Councillor Crook.
Some people like older type buildings, like more traditional, and some people like really ultra modern things and think they're awful because they're just, so one thing is different to another,
Yeah. Okay. Have you got enough there, Jodie? I think we're all in agreement with that one.
Yeah, that's fine. The next one also, I've got that answer in terms of the amount of affordable housing. We've talked about that a lot, so that's fine as well.
Yeah.
So number 24, are you talking about?
Yeah, number 24, yeah.
That one?
About the infrastructure levy, affordable housing under the infrastructure levy. Yeah, if we've covered that one, are you happy?
We've covered that one as well.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
Well, that concludes the questions that Jodie wanted further clarification on. Is there any other points that councillors would like us to discuss before we close the meeting?
well, just that we would want the message to go very clear that the picture on page 55 is what we want all housing to look like.
Where's that?
Okay, let's have a look.
Show us the picture so I can't find the page.
Go back to 54, question 20.
I can't. Oh,
And then turn the page.
it's not very well put together, this.
The
oh, you are kidding.
The beautiful Cotswold village. That's what we want.
Up sticks and move. Go somewhere else.
I think the streets are a bit narrow though, Stefan.
What we want, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
He's got his
I'll come and visit you in Burford-on-Thames.
I bet they won't get a HGV over that bridge.
They won't.
They try though.
Let's right out.
Okay. Right, so Jodie will be working on that document over the next week or so. Jodie, at the meeting next Tuesday, I know this isn't a part of the planning agenda actually, but would you mind just giving us a quick 2 or 3 minutes on how you managed to get on with that feedback?
In the meantime, if you think of anything else and you want to email me, if you want to look at the questions, that would be helpful.
Yeah,
got the general gist, but yeah.
Well, you've been with Henley-on-Thames long enough. You've been with Henley-on-Thames long enough to understand the challenges. You've been to many planning meetings. You've been to many neighbourhood plan meetings, and understand all of the nuances around Henley-on-Thames's particular situation. So I think I could speak on behalf of all of the councillors that we think he'll do an excellent job for us in these responses. Okay, all right, thank you.
I just say
Councillor
that,
Arlett.
yeah, my most busy days when I send emails are normally Saturday evening and all day Sunday. So if Jodie wants to receive them then, that's fine with me.
Nah, I think that's going to be a no. Right, thank you so much, councillors, for your time. Thank you, officers, and I'll see you next Tuesday.
Right. Off
Yeah,
for a
see you
glass
for
of
the next
Chablis.
planning meeting.